guys, it's Cash, and today I'm going to talk about my second book. My second book, I know I told you guys, is just about this whole gang stalking ordeal that I experienced, everything that I went through in Miami, my usual suspects that I had. It was a lot of confusion for me because I didn't understand who was doing this for what. I was going through a very intense period of spiritual transformation, and to have this happening to me on top of it, it was just not, it was a very intense and not a delightful experience. So basically, the book just details, it fills in the blanks, the spaces between the first book, the escaping possession. So it gives you the whole backstory on it, and it's more about my business in a sense. So the first suspect, I know I talked about it in videos, was my ex. I thought it was him, and like I couldn't get away from that because in my targeting, that narrative, that whole thing was used against me the most. And it didn't help that his baby mama was emailing me throughout this whole time after I had no contact with him whatsoever. So obviously, like, that's where I believed the targeting to be coming from. And, we went through everything with restraining orders and things like that. And then looking back now, I realized that the restraining order probably was a mock restraining order because they're really, I got dismissed, but they wanted that to be in place so they could mess with me and get me into legal trouble. And because that's what the whole gang stalking thing is about, is getting somebody into legal trouble. So I look at the way that they were using him and like the restraining order. So they were using him to get me to potentially reach out to him. And like that was one thing. And then, the Karen setups, all the manufactured setups like that to get me to act out against people of different races and things like that. And then my second suspect, the person who funded my business, you can read the book to find that out. That with that whole situation, I just found a lot of parallels between this specific individual and like agencies, escort agencies and stuff. I don't know if that is for sure, but I was supposed to pay this person back and he just seemed to know about the things that were happening to me in Miami as far as like the stalking and stuff. So I just kind of was like, I'm not going to pay you to stalk me because I think I'm actually doing you a favor. So then you go to my cop friend. This was somebody that I really trusted. This was somebody that knew everything about me. We did have a romantic relationship for about, 2.5 years, a year and a half. I don't know. So something like that. But it seemed like everything that we did together was things that relate to targeting, like the casinos, the facial recognition scanners. He took me to a gun range, to get a gun in my hand, to get me comfortable with shooting a pistol or whatever. And it just seemed like everything that we did was only geared towards targeting or ritually abusive situations. Then, of course, you have the other agents in this industry. They probably wanted me out for obvious reasons, the prices. I wanted to keep the prices high. They were trying to lower them. The men in that industry, I don't even know why they're there, but they had beef with me as well. Then they tried to make me believe that it was the mob, which I didn't believe, because if the mob has a problem with you, they're just gonna kill you. There's no questions asked. They're not gonna do all these, extra games and stuff. And as far as the Jewish Mafia goes, there really is no Jewish Mafia. Meyer Lansky was the last Jewish gangster, and he was in Cuba. I'll give you a little history lesson during this. He was in Cuba, and they had the casinos and the girls and the stuff out there, and Castro ran them out. And when Castro ran them out, they teamed up with the CIA. They wanted to get Castro out of there. So when they teamed up with the CIA, that is when the Jewish mob became Jewish intelligence. So, because they didn't want to get run out of any other places anymore. So, I mean, I guess whatever you want to call it, Jewish mob, it's Jewish intelligence, CIA, and then they also have ties to Freemasonry, which police are tied to Freemasonry. So you kind of have this whole umbrella of people that think that they're like gangsters and all this stuff, and it's just their intelligence. They're civilian police, they're civilian spies, and if these people actually lived the life of a gangster or knew what it was all about, they probably would not want to live that life, because it's not glamorous, and it actually does a lot of damage to people and their families. Then of course they wanted me to believe that it was gangster rappers after me, so I would freak out and move away and pack up all my stuff. There was a lot of social justice undertones to this, so like I didn't believe that it was gangster rappers, but like I couldn't get away from the social justice narrative and that kind of playing into it some way. You know, it crossed my mind, you know, maybe I'm white, they don't want me having this type of business here in Miami. Miami was getting, you know, more urban in this time. And I openly never supported BLM. And if you don't do that, you were considered to be like a racist person. Now, just because I don't support BLM, it doesn't mean I don't support Black people in their fight for equality. Okay, I do support that. I think that anybody that says that there is not a problem with that, you know, there's inequality amongst genders, men and women. So to say that there's not inequality amongst races is just wrong, but I do not support BLM. And then the feds, and then BLM, you know, I thought that maybe they were in charge of like some kind of like gang stalking thing, and with the civilian police or whatever. That also crossed my mind. And then the feds, you know, because there was times where I would go out to eat and stuff, and I could not have a meal without there being some police presence across the street from me or something like that, or a routine stalker, like somebody I saw all the time, somebody I was conditioned to seeing all the time. They would have the person walk around the block to maybe elicit some type of reaction out of me, you know, to get me to act out, like, what are you doing, you know, whatever. So if the feds are on you, that's the thing about the feds. That's why I kind of was like, it could be, because they did, you know, sabotage all my relationships, my investors, I guess you can say, my benefactors, however you want to put it. Like, it pretty much sabotaged all those relationships for me, and that is something that the feds do. So if the feds are on you, if you're not doing anything wrong, I mean, it really doesn't matter, but it's stressful. It's very stressful, and they go out of their way to tell you that they are watching you. But so I came down to the conclusion, like, this is police presence. This is federal agents or the police. You know, I didn't obviously think it was my friend from Chicago at first, but if you're a cop, you can have, you know, correspondence and just call up Miami Beach police anytime you want. So that's all I have to say about that. So my second book is just detailing all this craziness that I went through. And yeah, so I hope that everybody has a wonderful day. And as always, God bless.